Careful now.
This'll be over soon, gentlemen.
Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about The Green Room. This movie came out in 2015 and it was actually the last movie released that Anton Yelchin was in before his passing away in this year, actually in June. He died in a freak accident when he got out of his Jeep and he was parked on a steep, driveway, and it basically rolled backwards and crushed him against a pole. It's extremely tragic and really sad, and he's an amazing actor. Now going into this, I knew nothing about this movie. I hadn't heard of it, I hadn't seen a trailer or anything, so I went into it completely blind. I had no idea what was happening. And sometimes that's the best way to go into a movie, and I actually liked going into this movie specifically without any idea of what this film was about. Now it's kind of popular, so I'm sure a lot of you know what this movie is about. If you don't though, I'm gonna tell you. It's about a punk rock group band people who are traveling around trying to find gigs. They're extremely poor. They have to siphon some gas. They get a gig at this specific bar that is a skinhead neo-Nazi bar. The money was good, so they decided to go ahead and do the show. I love that the first song that they did was Nazi Punk's Fuck Off by Dead Kennedys. I thought that was funny. Anyway, it's after the show, they're collecting their money and stuff, and basically one of the people walk into this room where they see a dead girl on the ground with a knife sticking out of her head. And it escalates so gradually that it's so believable. That's one of the things this movie had going for it so well, was it was so believable. I believed that they would see that and freak out, obviously, and call the police. But then the manager of the place, would stop them and be like, it's cool, it's fine. And then basically trapping them, but it was such an awkward trapping where it was clear they're not going to be able to get away, but they're not really trying either because they know it's so awkward and that they're probably not going to get away. Until then, they're barricaded in the room where the dead girl is and the security guard. Right off the bat, I'm gonna give this movie a 9 out of 10 because the ending wasn't that strong for me, but everything else was unbelievable. It was easily one of the best movies I've seen this year, and it is so good. What makes it a horror is, well, for me, there's some dogs in it, which to me, that's really horrifying. But the gore, oh my gosh. Probably some of the best gore I have ever seen in a movie. It was so realistic. And that added to the fact that this whole movie felt really realistic, so you just feel the fear and the tenseness and the suspense of everything that's going on, and you're just so anxious for people. And they're not afraid to kill people. That's the thing. It's not some heroic, all the group gets out and then they go to the police and everything's fine. They are not afraid to kill off some characters, so you know that this is real. Or at least it gives you the impression that it's real. I thought the character development was done really, really well, actually. You get to know each of the characters just a little bit, and especially the main kind of characters, you get to hear some of their life story, which actually the paintball story that he told in the movie was real. It just happened to someone else, and the actual person who he's talking about in that story, that actually happened, and that person is real. So when some people die, which some people do die, I mean, that's realistic, that's what's gonna happen. It's basically a standoff between the neo-Nazis and the manager of the bar and the security guards and everything up against this group of kids, basically. They're in their 20s, but this punk band. And then also the friend of the girl who was murdered is involved with them. So it's them versus them, and so it just gets real heated. It's real heated. But naturally, going up against those kind of guys, some people are gonna die. But it's so shocking when each one does. It just happens out of nowhere, and you're like, oh my god, but that's what would happen if that really was going on and that was real. That's exactly what would happen. It'd be spur of the moment, it'd be random, it would be shocking, and it would be gory. Now, I'm gonna talk a little bit about the ending, and it'll be spoilery, so if you don't want to know what happens, then stop watching now. But please watch this film and let me know down below your thoughts on it. So towards the end, it's the guy and the girl, and they're alive still after all their friends have died, and then it starts to take place outside, in the forest area, and I don't know if I was such a fan of that. The ending itself was, I just had some issues with it. It just seemed really convenient all of a sudden that they became in power, and maybe they just got so much adrenaline and courage that they're like, well, what do we have to lose? If we die, we die, so we're just gonna try and take on these men. And there was a really weird, sad scene of the dog that had been walking for miles and finally shows up to this place where his owner died, and so then it curled up next to his owner's dead body. And that was really sad. It was heartbreaking, even though the dog had killed people. I still felt bad for him and his owner. And I just thought the ending was weird in the sense that it kept like showing the different characters in like different settings. Like the guy that interviewed them, it showed him like vacuuming, and I just thought that was really random and why show that. And the very last scene of them two just sitting there talking after they just murdered all these people was kind of weird. I mean, the ending wasn't that bad. Like it flowed with the film. It wasn't so jarring or weird, but like there were just a little bit like a few things that were off to me, but overall did not really take away from the film except that one point that made it a 9 out of 10 instead of a 10 out of 10. I just can't fault this film a lot. Like the parts that were in the ending that were just kind of like what weren't even that bad. So, and as a whole this movie was amazing. Definitely let me know your thoughts on The Green Room down below. All I've heard are good things so far about this film, and that's kind of all I have to say about it. Leave some movie requests down below. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Run.